Welcome to today's episode of the AI Trailblazer Podcast. Today we have a very exciting guest. He is none other than John, the co-founder and president at PropertyLens. So John, it's a great pleasure to have you here with us on the show today. Let's start off with yourself. What is your background and what led you to start PropertyLens?
Thanks, Bruce, and thanks for having me. My background is in data. I've played with data my entire career, a lot of it in the geospatial realm. Prior to PropertyLens, I and my co-founder Bob started a company called Hazard Hub, which is a geospatial hazard data company. Sold a lot of that information to insurers. But when we were doing Hazard Hub, a lot of our friends and family would come to us and say, I'm thinking about buying this house. What can you tell me about it? And we would tell them, if it had permits, what the property characteristics were, what hazards it was exposed to, what the replacement cost was, so they could negotiate a little bit better or know if they even wanted to, buy the house, because if you're terrified of wildfires, buying a house in an F wildfire area, probably not a good thing to do. So we sold the company in August of 21 to Guidewire, and there were 9 people in the company. And they always tell you don't do anything rash when you sell your company. And all 9 of us, within 4 weeks of the sale date, had bought a house. 3 first-time buyers, 3 move-up buyers, and 3 founders buying a second home. And what we all do? We all pounded our product, Hazard Hub, to get as much information as we could in the home buying process so we could negotiate from a point of strength. And we said to ourselves, why isn't this in a convenient form? Why isn't there a Carfax for houses? And so we thought, that might be a good idea. And so we started PropertyLens.
Got it. Yeah, then can you share more about PropertyLens itself? What is the problem that it is trying to solve? And then
Sure.
also specifically, what kind of target audience are you looking for as well?
So our target audience is home buyers and the people who serve them. So, the problem is, if you look at the home buying transaction in the U.S., of course, somebody's deciding to print something right now. But the joy of the common household printer, we'll just talk over the top of it, and the people at Riverside can edit this out. But the problem in the home buying transaction is the seller knows what they're selling. They've lived there. They might have done repairs. They might not have done repairs. The seller's agent sort of knows what they're selling. They probably know the neighborhood. The buyer's agent is representing the buyer's interest, but may not know the neighborhood, definitely doesn't know the particular property. And then the buyer, the only person in the transaction who's bringing the money to the table, really doesn't know the neighborhood, most likely, and really doesn't know the property. And most people who are buying houses are not building experts. They don't know what to look for. They're not hazard experts. They don't know what to look for. They look around the neighborhood, but they're not there for an extended period of time. And so they're buying what for most people is the most expensive investment/purchase they'll ever make, with minimal amounts of knowledge. And so we're trying to solve for that minimal amount of knowledge problem.
Got it. And then your company provides like data for home buyers in order to help them make a more informed decision. Is that right?
Yeah, we provide a report. So the report is about 50 pages long, which is a lot to take in. So there's a 2-page summary to start that gives like the 10 most important factors to look at, the anticipated first couple of years cost for maintenance and repair, the cost of insurance, how much insurance has gone up, how much the taxes have gone up on a per year basis, whether or not it's in a flood zone, whether or not it's been privately affected either by a disaster or some type of event that may have damaged the property, how many owners it's had. So a lot of very quick, important to know information. And then it provides a list of questions that the buyer should be asking the seller, because disclosure rules in the US vary greatly from state to state. But the one commonality is if you ask the seller, they're supposed to tell you honestly the answer to your question. So the seller has all the information, the buyer needs all the information, and we're sort of a conduit to help the buyer get the information and to know what questions.
Got it. So now I would like to touch on your role as the president and co-founder. What are the daily responsibilities, or what does your day-to-day look like? And then how does that fit into the bigger picture at PropertyLens?
Sure, my day is not set in any way, shape, or form. So, part of the day is product marketing, part of the day is product design, part of the day is dealing with customers, because we not only have consumer customers, but we also have business-to-business customers that use our data in some format within their services and systems. It's also getting new customers, both consumer and business, signed up and on the platform. HR, since I take care of that. Legal, since I take care of that. So the days are exceptionally varied, which is very typical for any startup. You may have a particular title, but that title doesn't necessarily mean anything. If we need customer service support and I'm the one available, then I'm the one who's doing it. So it's a
Got it.
different day every day.
Right. Yeah, so you talked a bit about part of your role was also to acquire new customers. Could you share what is the typical go-to-market channels that you use to acquire customers, and then how does that differ between the B2C and the B2B side?
Sure. On the B2C side, we use Reddit, we use Instagram, we use Facebook, we use Google. All of the standard B2C types of approaches are our approach as well. I'm trying to be a little bit more targeted to where home buyers happen to hang out in those places, but it's a general approach, and to get them to the funnel and then to get them through the funnel. On the B2B side, a lot of our customers are previous customers from our previous company. So they've been watching what we're doing. They're happy that we're back making our own data. And so they have simply said, hey, we would like to get your data through an API feed. And we said, great. And so we've been doing that. We've only been doing that since the middle of April, and we have 17 signed customers. So not too bad, seeing that we're only in August. So in about 4 months' time. And, people buy from people they like to buy from. And so we apparently made a lot of friends at our previous company, and they like the way that we do business. So they're doing business with us at this company.
Got it. Yeah, with regards to the B2B side, can you share what kind of companies these are typically that
Sure.
you give the API to? Yeah. As well
There
as,
are
do you plan to rely
essentially,
on other channels other than just the network in future?
yeah. So on the B2B side, it's primarily insurers, insurance inspection companies, and insurance policy administration companies. So the policy admin systems want to be able to add data capabilities into their process so they can streamline the quoting process. And we have all of the property characteristics. We have all of the hazards associated with the location, as well as replacement cost and permits. So that takes care of all of their needs. The insurers themselves have the same needs because they may have a system already in-house. They want to supplement that system with the same type of data. And then the insurance inspection companies have pieces and parts that they want to plug in. So some of it is geared toward understanding the roof better, the age of the roof, condition of the roof, replacement cost of the roof. And then some of it is geared toward simply being able to answer some very, you would think, easy to answer questions, but aren't really easy to answer, like where's the nearest fire hydrant, where's the nearest fire station, so they can complete their reports in a more timely and cost-effective manner.
Understood. Let's talk a bit about your goals. Where do you want PropertyLens to be for the next 6 to 12 months?
In the next 6 to 12 months, I would like to see 1, 2, 3 major brokers or brokerages in the real estate business providing a PropertyLens report with every house that gets sold. It's a way of educating the buyers. It's a way of avoiding after sale lawsuits. It's a way of differentiating themselves in the marketplace. So I think that would be the 6 to 12 month goal. The eventual growth goal is just like every used car in the U.S. pretty much comes with a Carfax report. We want every house in the U.S. to come with a PropertyLens report.
So you mentioned a goal of wanting to have 2 to 3 property brokerages that are actively using PropertyLens report. Can you share more what is the plan or the strategy to get there?
Well, part of it is very similar to how Carfax entered the marketplace. You drive it through the consumer. So when consumers start asking for the report, dealerships had to start providing the report. So a lot of it will be driven by the consumer adoption and the consumer side of the business. But I also expect that we'll find 1 or 2, maybe 3 small to medium-sized brokerages that say, okay, I'm going to differentiate myself in the marketplace from everybody else. I'm going to do it by providing a PropertyLens report.
Okay, good. Then what would you say have been the biggest challenges or obstacles that you're facing in reaching these goals?
The biggest obstacle is we're bringing something that's totally new to the marketplace. So there aren't consumer reports for houses, and we're the only ones doing it. So it's something new. And whenever you're new, there's always a lot of market hesitation, things along those lines. Getting the word out is always, a little bit more difficult in the consumer space because it's more costly to do so. And so I think those are the 2 biggest hurdles that we're going to have to overcome.
Okay. Then what have you been doing as a company in order to try and overcome some of this, like you said, the market hesitation and putting yourself out there?
Well, we go out every day, we post every day, we hit social pretty hard, we go to conferences, we're being seen. So it's a groundswell approach. We will partner with just about anybody, and when people see the report, they definitely feel it's worth the money that they're spending on it. Any home buyer is going to save 2.5% of the home price by using a PropertyLens report. So the ROI is exceptionally high. And people who value their time and understand the value of their time are the people that use our reports, because if you're going to go look at 10 houses, which is the average number of physical house views that most buyers do, if you can eliminate 5 of those, the amount of time that you've just saved yourself pays you back before you even get into negotiating the price of the house. Because you can probably eliminate half of the houses that you're thinking of seeing based upon the information that we can give you. So it improves the overall performance of the realtor. It improves your experience as a buyer. And, from a seller standpoint, the sellers that have used our products maintain their price and typically get overpriced because they're the only ones at an open house handing out a PropertyLens report, which makes the buyers wonder why everybody else isn't.
Right, makes sense. So you've pointed out a couple of different channels that you rely on to spread awareness, be it on social media, direct trade shows or conferences, and also your network. What would you say has been the most effective, and then what are the channels that hasn't worked as well in getting new customers?
So, the people that we know clearly are the best channel, but you can only know so many people. Then I would say that from a B2B standpoint, LinkedIn and conferences are the way to go for us. And then from a B2C standpoint, we've seen some pretty good traction on all of the platforms. We can get a lot of traffic driven. It's now, once the traffic gets there, making the process easy and efficient for them to acquire the reports.
Got it. Yeah, then I have a hypothetical question for you. Let's say if you had one thing to fix in the business that is either holding you back or slowing down your progress to get to your goals, what would that one thing be?
If we had one thing to fix, I think it's the purchase funnel. I think people want to have the easy, clean, quick experience. We're just about there with fixing that. I would expect next week we'll probably release our new funnel, the new purchase shopping cart experience. And it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot neater, it's a lot easier to go through. And I think that will make a huge difference, not only for the consumer, but for us as well.
Got it. So your biggest priority right now is just to improve this funnel to increase the conversions. Is that right?
I would say that's the number one priority. Number two is to streamline the report. I mean, 50 pages is a lot. The summary certainly helps that, but eliminating some of the duplicate information in the report would get there. We're going to next week or the week after introduce a piece of AI software that we've created to focus on the chatbot, and it will, you can ask it any question with regard to anything in the report, and it will give you an answer, all the way down to what types of plants you should be planting in your yard, given where the house is. So we think that will help people better understand all of the information that they're getting, because there is a lot there. I mean, this is, the biggest purchase that most people will make in their lifetimes. And it's really hard to get a lot of research on these properties, so we managed to pull all of it together. But even with the summary, even with, an ordering, trying to make it easy to understand, there's still a lot to take in. So we're trying to help the consumer really get a better understanding of everything that's in the report and what they've done. So there's still a lot of moving pieces.
Right. But then how do you ensure that these reports they are as accurate as possible? Is there a way that you update them constantly?
It's the data is being constantly updated, whether it's the hazard data, the property data, the listing data. We, work with partners to maintain and update the replacement cost information, the insurance information. So there's a lot of constant updating of the data, and the data can change literally over. So if you ran a report today on a house and tomorrow it gets hit by a hurricane, 2 days later, we're going to have that hurricane and the impact of the property and updated aerial photos of that property in the report. So it is a very rapid succession. There's a lot of data flying around, but as a consumer, you may not have known that last week a hurricane went through, and so you're seeing the property on, one of the services, a Redfin or a Realtor or a Homes.com, and you go, oh, this is a really nice house. Let's go take a look. And then you run a PropertyLens report and you find out, well, that's really good, but the house isn't there anymore. So, or, in some cases you find out that the house was there and got destroyed and is now a new house, which explains differences in build dates and things like that.
Got it. So now let's talk a bit about some of the trends or shifts that you're seeing in your industry right now, and then how is that impacting the growth of PropertyLens?
Sure. The biggest trend in real estate is the NAR decision, which came last year, which is how buyer's agents get paid and how that's established and all the paperwork associated with it, because it opened up the opportunity for you or I or anybody else who wants to represent themselves to essentially be able to represent themselves in the real estate transaction. You can buy a piece of real estate without a buyer's agent. You can negotiate the commissions. You can do a lot of things that you couldn't really do before. And so a number of software providers for the transaction in the real estate industry have moved to where an individual can come in, sign up, and actually use their services to prepare their own quote and their own paperwork for the real estate transaction. Well, if you're acting as your own agent, you're going to need a lot of data. And we happen to have a lot of data. And we happen to have it in a way that's easy for most people to understand. So I think that's a huge opportunity in the space. But also, now that a buyer's agent is typically paid by the home buyer or through the transaction with the home buyer's knowledge, the buyer's agent has to do a little bit more work to earn that money. And a PropertyLens report is an excellent way of differentiating their services from other buyer's agents in the process. So those are things that are affecting our industry, and besides the interest rates and all the other things that are more macro, these are micro things that are really affecting the industry.
Okay, interesting. So that brings us to the conclusion of the podcast, John. Once again, thank you for agreeing to do this and for sharing these valuable insights with our audience on the show today. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, Bruce. It was a pleasure to be here.